Well, I am excited because this is my first official album review. Not additional thoughts, very similar style, very similar format, but technically speaking, a review as part of my deliberate and slow, intentional change towards current content. Still doing the journey through hip hop, one album at a time. But this one, doing a live drop with the rest of the community and experiencing this new album, came out of nowhere. Lil Yachty in this just home run of an album. Honestly, I was going to say I don't know where to begin, but I know exactly where to begin. Dark Side of the Moon. Anybody who loves this album, who has enjoyed this album, who's been obsessed with it ever since it came out, just like I have, please go listen to Dark Side of the Moon if you have not done so. You need to hear that album. It was made 50 years ago. It's clearly inspiration for what Lil Yachty has done, along with some Radiohead tracks as well. Not that that's a problem, but if you like this, you gotta hear some of that source material, you know? Let's see. How do I even start? Just obsessed with this album over the weekend. Obsessed. And it was kind of tough because also did a reaction to the Forever Story by Jid, and I had to force myself to stop listening to Let's Start Here and listen to Jid because I just wasn't. I was listening to this album over and over and over again. Incredible. And there was this great write-up on the comments, the reaction by RR. I'm just going to give a shout out to RR for this great detailed history about Lil Yachty and how he kind of came up in the SoundCloud era and, you know, kind of blew up on the scene with some of the other artists, but then slowly but surely kind of fell off, more or less, right? Lots of criticism, wasn't getting much praise for the albums he was making, and then that was it. And then just fucking comes out of nowhere with this thing. Fantastic. Fantastic. I was spending more time with the album, obviously, and thinking about, you know, what is this album about? And of course, like I told you guys to do, I went back to Dark Side of the Moon, put that on, listened to it. And there was something very interesting to me because the Dark Side of the Moon, for if you're unaware, it's kind of, the idea is the dark side of life. Money, time, which is, you know, you run out of time, you don't have enough time. Us and them is like social divisions and things like that. The Great Gig in the Sky is about mortality. I mean, it's a fantastic album, and it's about the dark sides of life. And when you finish out the album, off of the track is called Eclipse, the whole album, you know, there's all these things going on, and, you know, it's the finale, and then it dies down into this heartbeat. And in the heartbeat, there's this really quiet voice that says, there is no dark side of the moon, really. As a matter of fact, it's all dark. Which is kind of interesting, right? When you take that concept of the dark side of life and the dark side of the moon and just essentially say life, all of life is dark. And I started thinking about this album with Lil Yachty. There was some great jokes being made at my expense on Discord over the weekend because of my obsession with the record industry, man. You know, it's record industry. They're doing, right? They're just responsible for all of the terrible things that happen. Them and corporate media, right? That's always my go-to. I started thinking about Yachty, kind of his career, the little bit that I've learned about him, what he's gone through, what this album is kind of expressing, because it is a little vague at times. It seems like it's a relationship with a person, but then it shifts around, and, you know, that part, what is it, at the end of Say Something? Where it sounds like the tape gets ejected and it's those two guys talking about how'd you coop that and blah blah blah, and they're literally saying, "Oh, I'll tell you anything. I'll paint the sky for you. I'd die for you. I'd lie for you." Like somebody got scammed out of that somehow. Anyway, I just started thinking about Yachty, his career path, and the idea of a dark side of the moon, or the whole thing being dark, the whole section. In taking that concept and going, okay, what's it like to be an artist who kind of comes onto the scene, kind of blows up, gets praise, things are going well, kind of like the first half of the album where things are light and happy for the most part. And then you're hit with something called Failure, which is track 5, him talking about failure. Then it drops into The Zone. I'm so far gone, right? And then that concludes with this great talk from Bob Ross about let it go, let it happen. And it gets a little warbly, like he's taking a drug trip or something like that. This is what kind of sells it for me. And by the way, when I talk about this theory of the album, this is just my kind of take on it. I'm probably wrong, okay? But this was just going through my head. Track 7 is We Saw the Sun, full caps, exclamation point. It's a celebration. It's a surprise. It's an oh my God type of thing. And if you think about that from the point of view of, as a matter of fact, it's all dark. Like life, all of life is dark. And then you have this glimpse of the sun. And then he kind of drops into this drug trip and I've officially lost vision. And it's almost like his own experience as an artist in, and I'm going to say the industry, in the industry, but it's not about the industry necessarily, just his experience through these last, what would you call it, 6 years, 7 years, however long this has been going on. And then to conclude on Reach the Sunshine, I feel like it's just Yachty's own personal experience of his life through the concept of the dark side of the moon. So I don't feel like he's trying to recreate that album. I don't feel like he's trying to copy it. I think he's basically using it as a context, as a form of expression, for his own form of expression. And that's what I get from this album. And, it's kind of interesting because I took a couple of days off from it to listen to Jid and the Forever Story. And I'm glad I did because when I came back to it, I had cooled off a little bit on the album. I was just obsessed with it. Masterpiece. Best thing I've ever heard. Like I was just fanboying out over the whole thing, right? And when I took a break and I came back, I kind of chilled out a little bit. Like the first half of the album, I'm not into The Ride. I'm not into Pretty. They're not bad songs, but I'm just not totally into them. Honestly, half the time I skip them. And then Failure, of course, is kind of like that little break. For me, I mean, the Black Seminole is a fantastic song. Love that song. Running Out of Time, amazing song. So those two, definitely, I love those. But for me, the album is The Zone until the end. It's just this amazing fucking ride from then on. And I mean, I love the Black Seminole too. But The Zone, We Saw the Sun, Drive Me Crazy, I've Officially Lost Vision. That 4-track run is unbelievable. And then it kind of slows down a little bit for Say Something, Paint the Sky. But then Should I Be, Alchemist, Reach the Sunshine, just fucking amazing. Amazing. Oh my God. I think it's really hard to pick a favorite. Officially Lost Vision's up there for sure. Reach the Sunshine, Black Seminole, Drive Me Crazy, The Zone. I mean, there's so many great tracks off this album. But really for me, what I love is, I mean, I don't know anything about Lil Yachty other than the tiny bits that I've read since Friday. I just love the fact that it seems like Lil Yachty, his production crew, the people that were around this project as it was being built, they just said, you know what? We're going to make something that we care about. We're going to make something that we want to make that allows us to express ourselves in the way that we want to express ourselves. I mean, when you talk about this album, what is it? Is it rap? No. Is it classic rock? No. Is it electronic? No. Is it R&B? No. Is it? I mean, it's not even a genre. It's just its own thing. And it's incredible in that sense. For me, like this album, honestly, it goes right up in that special area where Blonde is. Because Blonde is this just incredible experience. And it's a little bit easier to categorize Blonde in terms of a genre. But what I love about Blonde, and what I think a lot of people love about Blonde, is it's the experience that the album is. And that's exactly what this is. A fucking experience. And it's an incredible experience. So mad props to Lil Yachty and everybody involved with the production, everybody involved with the project. It's an incredible album. I agree. I remember seeing messages when people are trying to tell me, you got to do this one. Oh my God, album of the year. Hold the fuck up. We're 3 weeks in January, 4 weeks in January. Just calm down with this album of the year shit, right? I think there's a case to be made. It's a contender. I'm not going to say it is album of the year, but I absolutely feel something like this should be considered. I'm happy to see so many people enjoying it for what it is rather than going, I'm sure there's plenty of people out there going, well, this ain't hip hop, this ain't rap, whatever, sure. But it seems like there's a lot of people out there that just love this project, and rightfully so. I love it too. I'm so glad I got to listen to it. I'm so glad it was just shoved in front of me. You have to do that. I basically got bullied into it. And just fantastic. Fantastic fucking album. So That's my review. When it comes to album reviews, I am not going to do a number system. I don't like that. I think it's dumb, honestly. I know a lot of people like numbers because it's very objective to look at a number. But I think putting a number value to a musical experience is dumb. It's dumb. So I'm not going to do it. So my rating system, I haven't really decided on, but this album is absolutely a must listen. No questions asked. Especially if you love classic psychedelic rock. Absolutely got to listen to it. And if you're a fan of Blonde album, you got to listen to it. Not that it's similar to Blonde, but it's just a fucking ride. It's such a ride. And it's amazing. There you go. Tomorrow is the Buwag. Fresh tracks from new artists. And Friday, I don't know. I don't know what I'm doing Friday. I haven't figured it out yet. I have the albums listed, but I don't know which one I'm going to pick yet. So we'll find out come Friday morning. All right, guys. We'll see you.